When it comes to your health, quality isn't negotiable. That's why I've trusted my supplement dispensary to Fullscript, because every one of their 15,000 supplements is vetted, verified, and held to the highest standards. And now, for 3 days only, every single one of those high-quality supplements is on sale. May 18th through 20th, 3 days only, get 10% off and free shipping on the entire Fullscript inventory. It's the Fullscript Signature Sale happening May 18th through May 20th. Just go to drhoffmanstore.com, stock up on the supplements I recommend at prices that make it even easier to stay consistent with your wellness routine. We're talking trusted brands, professional-grade formulas, everything in the catalog, no exceptions. You'll find innovative wellness products, too, all chosen for their quality and reliability. Don't leave your health to chance by buying from third-party sellers. Shop my Fullscript online dispensary, where quality always comes first. The Fullscript Signature Sale, May 18th through 20th at drhoffmanstore.com. That's drhoffmanstore.com. There's a crucial molecule in your body that helps control everything. Your circulation, your energy, your stamina, your heart, even your sharpness of mind. It's called nitric oxide. But after age 40, your body makes less and less of it. Less blood flow, less stamina, less of you. But now there's N101, the nitric oxide lozenge developed by Dr. Nathan Bryan, the world's leading nitric oxide researcher backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. N101 is designed to naturally restore your body's nitric oxide levels. Just do what I do and let one dissolve in your mouth twice a day. I especially make sure to take it before workouts. N101 goes to work in minutes, releasing nitric oxide directly into your bloodstream, supporting healthy circulation, boosting oxygen delivery to your muscles and brain, helping you feel the way you're supposed to feel. More energy, better blood flow, sharper focus. Day after day. N101, it's the science of you working better. Visit HoffmanNO.com. That's HoffmanNO.com and use coupon code Hoffman10 for 10% off N101.
Welcome to Leyla Weighs In. I'm your host, Leyla Muedin. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist here in New York City. If you'd like to arrange an appointment with me, please call the number 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. If you'd like to email me with your question that you'd like to hear an answer to, or I'll take a deep dive on this program, that email is questions@drhoffman.net. That is questions@drhoffman.net. So I've got a question here from Sheila, and she's responding to an article I wrote recently in the Intelligent Medicine newsletter. By the way, if you don't already subscribe to the Intelligent Medicine newsletter, it's free. Go to drhoffman.com and sign up. Anyway, I wrote a recent article about alternative and artificial sweeteners and how breaking the sugar habit can be tough. But replacing sugar with artificial sweeteners carries its own challenges and risks. Sheila is asking, am I saying that agave nectar causes obesity like high-fructose corn sweetener does? And the answer is, yeah. Even though it may be a little lower on the glycemic index, which honestly doesn't account for much, in my opinion, as well as monk fruit, by the way. It tends to be lower glycemic. Oh, but Leyla, honey is low glycemic. If you consume these things regularly, you will keep your fat storage hormone, insulin, spiked. So, and to remind you that by making the change to agave or any kind of other alternative or artificial sweetener, we're not breaking the sugar habit. And we're using a substitute that tastes like sugar. So you keep craving the sweet stuff. And now on top of that, it's with an alternative sweetener, or worse, an artificial sweetener. Agave nectar, by the way, is not artificial, but still, sweet is sweet. And back to my article here, studies have shown that aspartame, which is the brand name NutraSweet, in the blue packet equal, adversely impacts blood sugar and insulin levels in the same way that sugar does. Yes, it's 0 calories, but weight gain is not only about calories. We can't eat 4,000 calories a day and not expect to gain weight. But there's also hormones, like insulin, which is a fat storage hormone. These artificial substances, these sweeteners, they keep metabolism in fat storage mode the same way because it tastes sweet to your taste buds. Now, aspartame, NutraSweet, is especially notorious for fat gain. And to add insult to injury, it's also a neurotoxin. It's toxic to the brain. Do you remember when it first came out? And I remember there was an audience member on the Oprah show back when she had her weekday afternoon show saying, I drink about a gallon of iced tea a day. I've had or more than that. And you can have a seizure. You can overdo this. And a risk factor may be seizure. It's toxic to the brain. And, over the course of my career thus far, I've got many weight loss patients who eventually hit a plateau. Now, when I look more deeply into their eating habits, I often find regular consumption of diet soda or other artificially sweetened beverage, like diet iced tea, Crystal Light. When you eliminate the artificially sweetened beverage, voila, the plateau goes away and weight loss resumes. I have countless anecdotes like this. Now, although sucralose, which was Splenda, the yellow packet, was the star and savior for sugar lovers back 20 years ago, and that was during my time at the Atkins Center. More recent research has revealed that it isn't much better. It too can cause surges in blood sugar and subsequently insulin in many people, keeping them in perpetual fat storage mode. And they found that there are also adverse impacts on the microbiome to consider when using sucralose as well as other sweeteners. So what about stevia? Yeah, it's natural. There are a lot of things natural that we shouldn't be consuming, like heroin, like marijuana. My opinion. Should we take those too? Now, stevia is likely the most innocuous sweetener, but stevia can keep you in sweet craving mode, as can agave nectar, as can monk fruit, as can any and all of these sweeteners if you're using them regularly. And by the way, using a little bit may spur on regular use because you simply want more of it. Having sugar or other refined carbohydrates begets more craving for sugar. So, this is just more misery that comes with enabling an addiction to sugar. And I'm not convinced that stevia or agave nectar is without blame in weight loss plateaus and unstable blood sugar in those who are susceptible. The other thing is keep the use of these, the regular use of these sweeteners, whether natural or artificial, makes you want more of it instead of good, wholesome, good quality food, like good quality animal protein, for example. Because you're distracted to the sweet thing that you're looking forward to, that you want, that you can't wait to have. And then allulose is the new darling on the scene. It's found in naturally dried fruits, it's in maple syrup and brown sugar. And so far, it's showing some benefits with only little impact on blood sugar. But, little warning, it's not yet used in Europe or Canada, since it is novel and not enough testing has been done to determine any adverse effects. But beware, regular use of allulose can also cause GI upsets like bloating and gassiness. You know what else causes bloating and gassiness with regular use? Xylitol, the sugar alcohols, not just xylitol, but sorbitol, erythritol, maltitol. These are in a lot of no sugar, no sweetener products, but these are the alternatives that are being used. But this can cause gassiness. And yes, agave nectar has pretty much it's the new high-fructose corn syrup. Any of these sweeteners can cause spikes in blood sugar and subsequently insulin, bringing you into a weight loss plateau if weight loss is your mission, right? And sugar is more often implicated when it's spiking insulin. It can also cause spikes in blood pressure. Everybody's talking about salt. Salt is only the middleman. Salt, when we have a high insulin, or even a high on the normal end of insulin, it causes the body to retain more sodium, even on a lower salt diet. And that can create more blood volume, right? Because water is following salt in your body into the bloodstream, increasing blood volume, and that contributes to high blood pressure. So again, as I state at the end of my article, if you really can't drink your tea or coffee without using some kind of sweetener, consider this. It's not the beverage itself that you enjoy. It's simply a sugar delivery system for you. So, Sheila, thank you for your very thoughtful question about agave. Now, I want to move on to something else. Speaking of craving, there are lots of people who live with a lot of food noise. Well, now, this is out of holistic primary care. There's a new clinical tool to assess food noise. Food noise, what is it? It's the relentless, intrusive, uncontrollable mental rumination about food. And it's a common experience reported by people struggling to manage their weight. The surge in use of GLP-1 inhibiting drugs like Ozempic, like Mounjaro, has spotlighted this phenomenon because many patients report that GLP-1 treatments quell the intensity of food-related thoughts. I will tell you this is true. In my own practice of many clients who have opted to use these semaglutide drugs, it quiets all the noise, which is fantastic because that is the battle, right? But until recently, clinicians and researchers have been at a loss on how to objectively quantify the prevalence and the severity of that food noise. So, there's a team of researchers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who headed a multidisciplinary research team that took on the task of developing the first scientifically validated food and noise assessment tool. We're talking about food noise. Like all subjective experiences, food noise is challenging to frame in standardized objective terms. And these researchers spent a lot of time reviewing all that has been so far published about food noise, and also interviewing patients. They then developed a tentative list of questionnaire items and sent them to independent survey development experts for review and revision. The final form of their Food Noise Questionnaire, acronym FNQ, Food Noise Questionnaire, uses a 5-point Likert-scale format by which patients rate their level of agreement or disagreement with the following 5 statements. Number 1, I find myself constantly thinking about food throughout the day. Number 2, my thoughts about food feel uncontrollable. Number 3, I spend too much time thinking about food. Number 4, my thoughts about food have negative effects on me and or my life. Number 5, my thoughts about food distract me from what I need to do. These are powerful statements. Now, for each statement, a strongly disagree rating was assigned a score of 0, while a strongly agree gets a score of 5. The individual item scores are then summed up to give a total scores, with higher scores indicating higher levels of perceived food noise. The researchers subjected the questionnaire to an array of statistical analyses to test and retest its reliability, its validity. This is very important in assessing a tool and in scientific research. You want to test its reliability and validity. And the study involved a nationally representative general population sample of 409 people, 67% female, mean age 51 years, 72% white, with a BMI in the obesity range of 31. Close to 1/3 of the sample population were dieting for weight loss, but none were taking GLP meds at the time. A total of 396 completed the full test and retest study protocol. Quote, the Food Noise Questionnaire, the FNQ, provides a psychometrically reliable and valid measure of food noise, although further research is needed to evaluate its clinical utility, say the researchers. And by the way, this paper is published in the journal Obesity. The questionnaire showed excellent internal consistent reliability and a high test-retest reliability. And they note, adding that it also performed well on measures of discriminant validity, convergent validity. These are all very specific ways that the researchers use to determine how valid and reliable that it can be. Now, the researchers acknowledge that there are several tentative definitions of food noise in the medical and consumer-facing literature, but one factor common to nearly all of them is the intrusive and persistent nature of the food-related trains of thought. For their research purposes, they define the phenomenon as persistent, intrusive thoughts about food that are disruptive to daily life and make healthy behaviors difficult. These thoughts include intense concern about what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat. Researchers said that the ruminations may sometimes be triggered by or intensified by actual external food cues of one sort or another. But this is not always the case. Many patients experience food noise independent of any external triggers. In other words, you may be triggered walking by a bakery or pizzeria when you smell those aromas, right? But largely, it didn't necessarily depend on this external cue. They were ruminating without any of these external cues. It was there. So these researchers stress that the current iteration of this food noise questionnaire, the FNQ, it's merely a starting point, albeit a strong one, in establishing a standardized way of quantifying a highly subjective experience. And they call for further research to determine, among other things, whether food noise scores change in response to these GLP-1 drugs, the semaglutide drugs like Ozempic, these drug therapies and dietary interventions, and whether the reported validity of the questionnaire holds up across a wider range of ethnic, racial, and age groups. Again, I want to go over these 5 statements again. And as I go over them, this is specific to food. However, you may want to, as I'm reading these statements to you, swap out the word food with drugs, with alcohol, with anything else, with cigarettes, with anything else that is addictive. So let me go over these 5 statements again. I find myself constantly thinking about food throughout the day. Do you strongly agree? Do you not agree at all? Do you somewhat agree? Number 2, my thoughts about food feel uncomfortable. Remember, swap the word food out with alcohol, drugs, nicotine, whatever, anything. Number 3, I spend too much time thinking about food. All right. Maybe you spend too much time thinking about your next cigarette. Maybe you spend too much time thinking about having a martini at the end of the day. Maybe you spend too much time thinking about that snack. Maybe, who knows? Number 4, my thoughts about food have negative effects on me and or my life. And number 5, my thoughts about food distract me from what I need to do. Because maybe you'd rather be having a snack. Maybe you'd rather be having sex. Maybe you'd rather be having a cigarette. Maybe you'd rather be having a drink or 3, right? So the food noise, it's about really food addiction. And you have to consider the foods you're eating that are contributing and exacerbating that addiction. In the beginning of this podcast, I talked about sugar. And it is the most addictive substance on the planet. We thought it was cocaine and heroin. It's hard to give up sugar. But eating that and other refined carbohydrates begets more craving for it. And this is how food noise is developed. This is how food noise is exacerbated. So you have to consider, as in drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sex addiction, nicotine addiction, all of it, abstinence is key. That abstinence is key. So, I want to thank you for joining me on another edition of Leyla Weighs In. This is Intelligent Medicine.
I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything Intelligent Medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations.
This is Leyla Muedin, registered dietitian nutritionist. I maintain a private practice and see patients regularly. If you require a nutrition consult with me but live out of town, there's no need to travel to New York City. I have telephone and telehealth consultations with clients from all over the country. Please visit drhoffman.com for more information. And to set up an appointment, call 212-779-1744. That's 212-779-1744. I look forward to being a collaborator in your healthcare.